Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're stepping into some truly profound territory. We are going to decode the afterlife, but not through vague metaphors or, mystical prophecies. Instead, we're looking at a highly logical, almost mechanical Buddhist framework of existence. It's called the 12 Links of Dependent Origination. So let's just dive right in.
Now, if you grew up with a standard Western linear view of life and death, you probably imagine the afterlife as this grand finale, right? Like a permanent destination you reach after taking your last breath. But what if we completely flip that script? What if death isn't a final stop, but actually just a transit lounge? Basically, what if your afterlife is really just another life?
Think about how radically different these two paradigms are. In a linear timeline, it's straightforward. You are born, you live, you die, and then you go to some eternal destination. But the Buddhist concept of samsara? Totally different. In this cyclical afterlife, death is absolutely not a permanent stop. It's really just a gear turning in this continuous, endless machine of existence. You die, you transition, and boom, the wheel spins you right back into a new form.
So here's our blueprint for today's explainer. We're going to logically break down this massive concept. We'll hit the wheel of samsara, trace the echoes of the past, witness the spork of life, see how we construct the afterlife, pinpoint the moment of transition, and finally, talk about breaking the cycle.
All right, Section 1, the Wheel of Samsara. Let's look at the actual engine of existence.
This engine of samsara is known as the 12 Links of Dependent Origination. And the sources describe this not as some esoteric, unexplainable mystery, but as a rigid, 12-step cause and effect framework. It's literally the physics of karma and consciousness. The whole idea is, because this exists, that exists. It explains exactly how consciousness continuously loops through life, death, and rebirth, step by logical step.
Moving right into Section 2, Echoes of the Past. We need to look at this three-act life cycle to understand exactly how our past built our present.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to trace the timeline of our existence across 3 lifetimes. Because these 12 links, they don't just happen all at once. They span the past, the present, and the future. You've got past causes from a previous life, and those create present effects, which is the life you're living right now. Then, you generate present causes through your current actions, and those will directly trigger future effects in your next life. So here's the absolute crucial point. The life you are living right now is actually the afterlife of your previous existence.
So those first 2 links, they belong to your past life. Link 1 is ignorance, basically not knowing the true, impermanent nature of reality. And because of that ignorance, you acted, you reacted, and you generated karma. Which brings us to link 2, formations. Think of formations as the karmic seeds, the habitual actions, the momentum built up in your past life. You can picture ignorance and formations as the engine of your past life. When your previous body died, that karmic engine didn't just shut off. No, it generated the thrust needed to launch your consciousness into a brand new rebirth.
And that brings us to Section 3, the spark of life. Let's shift our focus to the present moment and see how that past momentum creates a totally new human being.
Let's look at how this all builds biologically. Our sources point out that Buddhist philosophy brilliantly maps these next links directly onto fetal development. Link 3 is consciousness, specifically a rebirth linking consciousness sparked by past karma that enters the womb. That triggers link 4, name and form, which is the actual psychological and physical development of the embryo. Then, around the 5th week in the womb, according to the ancient texts, link 5 happens, this 6 senses form. After birth, the baby experiences link 6, contact with the outside world, which immediately results in link 7, feeling. This is just the passive experience of pain, pleasure, and neutral sensations.
Okay, I want to pause here for a second just to let this really profound realization sink in. Think about everything we just covered, from the initial spark of consciousness to your physical body, your senses, and those feelings you passively experience every single day. The sutras heavily emphasize that these are all present effects. You didn't actively choose them in this life. They are the direct mechanical result of your past karma, meaning you are literally experiencing the afterlife of your past self right now.
Now, we transition from being passive receivers to active creators. This is Section 4, Constructing the Afterlife. Let's look at how we're building our next afterlife, right this very second.
As we grow up, and the sources specifically note the onset of puberty and adulthood here, we stop just passively feeling things and we start reacting. This is link 8, craving. We feel a pleasant sensation, we desire more of it. We feel a painful one, we try to push it away. And over time, this craving hardens into link 9, clinging. We get deeply attached to our wealth, our religious beliefs, our self-image, our desires. These are the present causes. Basically, the friction of our daily reactions is winding up the spring for our next existence.
All of that craving and clinging eventually condenses into the 10th link, becoming, or bhava. This is such a critical concept in the sources. Becoming is the accumulated karmic momentum. It's the potential energy that practically guarantees your next physical existence. Think of it as the architectural blueprint you're actively drawing for your next life. It's based entirely on what you obsess over, how you treat others, and what you cling to today.
Which brings us to the absolute climax of this framework. Section 5, the moment of transition.
The sources are crystal clear on this point. In this framework, there is no permanent soul taking a vacation in the clouds between lives. Death is not a hard stop. Instead, it is one single, continuous moment of transition. The last breath of this life and the first spark of the next, that rebirth link in consciousness we talked about earlier, happen in a rapid, mechanical transfer of karmic energy. The momentum just rolls over.
But where exactly does that momentum roll over to? Well, the sources impartially map out how the becoming you generated dictates your next destination across 6 realms. If your life was shaped by virtue and compassion, your karmic momentum naturally aligns with the heavenly or human realms. If it was driven by primal ignorance and harm, it connects to the animal realm. Lives consumed by overwhelming, unsatisfied greed map straight to the hungry ghost realm, and extreme malice generates rebirth in the hell realms. Now, this isn't some cosmic judge handing down a sentence. It is strictly cause and effect. Your blueprint determines the building.
And so, the blueprint is realized. Link 11 is birth. Consciousness manifests in one of those new realms. But here's the catch of a cyclical afterlife. Because you're still on the wheel, Link 11 absolutely guarantees Link 12, old age and death, the inevitable decay and suffering of whatever new form you just took. And once that body dies, the wheel spins again, and Link 1 starts all over.
So, is there an exit? Let's move to our final section, Section 6, Breaking the Cycle.
If the afterlife is truly just another life of eventual old age, suffering, and death, then the ultimate Buddhist goal isn't really just to get a good rebirth. The true goal is nirvana, to stop the gears of this massive mechanical reincarnation. You can't just try to jam the wheels at the end of your life. You have to remove the engine at the very beginning. You have to eliminate Link 1, ignorance.
The solution here is known in the sources as the reverse order of the 12 links, and it reveals this incredibly profound truth. When ignorance is extinguished, formations are extinguished, and thus the entire mass of suffering ceases. Through profound wisdom and meditation, if you truly understand the impermanent nature of reality, you just stop generating the karma of craving and clinging. And without craving, there is no becoming. Without becoming, there's no karmic momentum left to spark a new birth. The cycle, finally, permanently rests.
So, the biggest takeaway from decoding these 12 links is that the afterlife isn't something that simply happens to you after you die. It's something you are actively building right now, with every single thought, reaction, and attachment, which leaves us with one highly practical question to end on. Based on your karmic momentum, your cravings, and your actions today, what kind of afterlife are you actively constructing for tomorrow? Definitely